Oh, he's back.
What a baby.
Do the drill.
He's flying. Okay, give him a nice close-up.
Yeah. All right, we're back. Judd'z Budz, episode 143, the Wayne Gretzky plus new Minnesota Wild Travis Dermott episode.
Unplanned.
As always, your host, Spoke Z, joined in person in the state of Minnesota by my good friend, Mr. at State of Hobby. How we doing?
I'd argue that you're joining me.
That is more accurate. Correct.
But either way, we're good.
I'll tell you what, the amount of eye contact that we've already made is making me feel, I can't tell if I'm uncomfortable or if I'm like, I'm like, oh, how you doing? Looking good.
You're not a big like post-session cuddle guy, huh?
or I really am. I don't know. I can't tell. You want to come sit on this with me? I'll tell you what, I am like melted into this thing. I'm like, every time I move, I'm like, oh.
It's funny too, because like just the way that you melt down into that, and this is like so propped up, you look so short.
Yeah, I mean, accurate. I've been telling people, I think I am shrinking already. Like I think also like my feet are getting smaller, I think.
You know what, though? That's nice for airplanes.
It is nice for airplanes. They're still a bit uncomfortable still though, either way, depending, I guess, where you're sitting.
I mean, sure.
We're in Minnesota, dude.
We are in Minnesota. It's your second time, which is a very weird thing to say. We are currently watching live the Vegas versus Minnesota game, 15:08 on the clock in the second. So if you want to follow along at that point, go back and rewatch in case we say anything stupid that happens during the game, which we have to touch on it before we even get into anything else and like get through the rundown for the show. Freddie Gaudreau saucering that puck from the crease is one of the cooler things I've ever seen him do.
That was a top 5 favorite penalty in recent memory for me. Like, not only is the slow-mo of him catching the puck out of midair and just chucking it down, like an absolute heave down the ice, and then being shocked that he got a penalty for it. That's funny enough, but that puck was headed directly, like no traffic other than Freddie Gaudreau. There was nothing else going on in front of the net. It was headed directly for Jesper Wallstedt, who's making his season debut, right into his glove. And Gaudreau just decided, he saw Middleton, which we'll talk about that in our, like, how much of a mush I am. We'll talk about that. But he saw Middleton do that first shift against Edmonton. He's like, that, and got hurt bad. He was like, I bet I should do that myself too. That looked fun and cool. He's having a great year. I should try to do that.
Yeah, he wasn't tougher than the puck, but I'm going to be tougher than the puck.
It was there was nothing in front of Wallstedt other than Freddie Gaudreau's glove, and puck went directly into it, and he just chucked it down the ice, and then Vegas scores immediately on the power play. An absolute rip from Victor Golifson.
Oh wow, that was horrible.
That was his OG nickname back at like his first year at Buffalo, because he was just he was just picking up the puck at the dot and
he was a Cy Young guy too, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, no assists. I think he scored like 9 goals before he got his first assist.
Get to your office. Michael gets it to you. Done.
He's got one job and he's good at it. God, could he shoot a puck? But yeah, I mean, we could talk about that real quick. Jesper Wallstedt making his season debut. We're supposed to be here all year. Originally, the plan was that 3 goalie rotation. That immediately went.
Now it's a 1 goalie rotation.
Yeah. Russo said, I just read his quick little article about it. According to a team source, Gustafson's just dealing with some lower body soreness. Nothing major, isn't expected to miss a ton of time, but good opportunity to get Wallstedt his first game again.
Lower body soreness,
yeah,
that hits different, like compared to lower body injury, upper body injury, like lower body soreness.
Oh, and it's 2-1. Okay,
That's
great.
not great.
I was just about to say, Wallstedt looked pretty good. I mean, realistically, that the first goal from Olofsson, not Olofsson, that was a rip. Again, power play, which the power play, again, should never happen because he was just going to catch the puck. But so far, 15 saves and 17 shots. Obviously, again, supposed to be a 3-goal rotation. That was a bad turnover from Faber. But AHL season really not going as expected for Wallstedt, who I just realized, by the way, I've just remembered, it's so crazy to me that he's the all-time wins leader in Iowa for goalies, which is nuts to me. I just read that because I was going through his stats on the AHL page. He's their all-time leader in wins, which is crazy. Which I think he doesn't even have a ton, obviously. It's crazy, dude.
Now,
It'd be funny if I got
Iowa Wild, though. That doesn't include going back to like Houston Arrows records, right?
Right, I would imagine.
So that at least makes it a little more reasonable, but that's still
It's just weird.
He's
Not
had
weird,
like one season and a little change. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, it's like I guess 2 and change now.
2 and change, yeah.
But I mean, this year, a very rough start for him in Iowa, obviously. And eventually they gave him some time off just to work with their goalie coach, get back down to basics. And he's been really good the last 2 starts. He's coming off a shutout in his last start in Iowa. And again, realistically, not a whole lot was going to be able to do on either one of the goals tonight so far. I mean, both goals he got left high and dry there. Again, bad turn on the second one, bad turnover from Faber at their own or at the offensive blue line, come down off the rush. And that's just the Olofsson one. Power play never should have happened, but that was an absolute rip. But looks good so far, looks comfortable. And Travis Dermott, who they just picked up on waivers, he's making his debut. I think he played only like 3 minutes in the first period. Yeah, I mean, hasn't got a ton of ice time. Looks fine, but more depth. Not a bad. Anytime you can pick up a guy on defense, especially in Minnesota, where everyone's injured.
Well, and anytime you can pick up, Declan Chisholm on waivers for free. Wild just do okay with defensemen on waivers.
Yeah.
And if they get a stallion like Rem Pitlick off waivers, they just throw him right back onto it.
Yeah. In Dermott's history has just been interesting. Like his first few years, he was looked at as like a potential future, like maybe like number 4 in Toronto. Things eventually went south there, went to Vancouver, went to Edmonton. Last couple of years have not been great for him. But again,
going south in Toronto, many don't know that Toronto is actually south of us right now. Here in the Twin Cities.
That's breaking my brain. I don't know. I don't really know what to do with that. I don't like it.
I had to throw that out because I knew that you were gonna be a little thrown off by it.
Yeah, it's really that's good.
No, Toronto is south of the Twin Cities, which is just hilarious.
I reject that. I also completely forgot that he was also in Arizona last year. I played 50 games in Arizona.
I think most people have kind of forgotten about it at this point. Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the guy's played over 300 NHL games. Who knows? He's not going to be playing every game, probably, I would imagine. But I mean, with the injuries right now, which we could talk about that right now.
If he is playing every game, problem.
That's a big
not because he's a problem, but that just means that we aren't healthy.
Yeah. Which absolutely not. They are not healthy at all.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, unbelievable. Last episode, we were talking about the most important guys to not lose to injury. Literally, and this goes to, and we can keep talking about how much of a mush I am just in general. I show up in Minnesota after mentioning that Jake Middleton is sneaking into like top territory for me for like most important guys to not get hurt. Literally first shift against Edmonton, catches a puck out of midair down the tunnel. Now he's out. He's on long-term IR, so he's out at least a month. So I am just an absolute bush. They proceeded to get the absolute wheels beat off of them by Edmonton, which as terrible as that was, it was so fun to watch McJesus and Draisaitl go full pelt in person. That was unbelievable. Like Draisaitl in that first period was a menace. It was incredible to watch. I always forget how big he is. Like, he's tall, but he's also just like, I mean, that is a big boy. And that paddle that stick he uses, the absolute beaver paddle, is It's almost as jarring as seeing the knob on Mark Stone's twig in person. He uses like 18 rolls of grip tape. Seeing that in person is always nuts. But yeah, it was very fun, even though it was at the expense of like just the soul, the self-esteem of the Minnesota Wild. But just seeing them in person just rip another hockey team apart single-handedly was incredible to watch.
You tell me if I'm out to lunch on this, but Leon Draisaitl is a guy that perplexes me in the fact that he's a guy whose wires cross quite regularly, but he plays like kind of more like the skilled player that goes rat and just starts like hacking and like being a little bitch. Whereas if he really wanted to go full fuck you mode, like he could hurt people. And he just like doesn't really have that in his game. Like if I missed it, I feel like I've never really seen him throw his weight to the extent he should.
Yeah, no, he usually just does a little like whacks to the ankle and shit like that in the hands.
I don't like that when it's a player that can throw the weight around. But
yeah, same time, it's one of the best players in the league. Just puts up 100-point seasons with these like just decided like after 3 or 4 years in the NHL, he's like, I think I'm going to score 60 goals a year.
Yeah.
That shot like from no angle, that like half one timer, half snapper, that he just puts shelf every single time is sick.
Dude, I gotta though give credit to one of my personal favorite players. This is more of like a deep cut. Like he was a good player, obviously, but most people would probably be surprised to hear this name. I loved Mike Camilleri.
Oh yeah.
And that guy was the king of posting up at the bottom of the circle. And if you get him the puck right, it's going top corner. It is. There's just no question about it.
I forget what year it was, but he scored in like the first minute of a playoff game against Pittsburgh.
Which team was he on?
He was on the Canadians.
Okay.
And he just like slowly
that was like
entered
early
the zone.
Teens. That would have been probably like 11 or 12.
Yeah, that sounds right. Dude, there's one goal and it was in the Bell Center, like first shift, and he just went shelf from deep. And it was like, usually those shots you're expected to make that save, but like there was no chance. He correct me if I'm wrong, he was very small.
He wasn't a big dude.
He at least looked tiny on the ice.
A lot of people aren't aware.
My God, could he generate power?
I don't know why this came up, but I had friends who, for whatever reason, threw this out as a trivia question. At the time, he was one of like, I think 3 or 4 Jewish players in the league.
Oh, really?
Yeah, who would have thought?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Also, shout out Mike Camilleri for talking shit about like the Canadians in general, and then next game getting traded like at intermission. And they're like, Camilleri's on the bench. Oh, he got traded. I don't know if we've ever seen that before. He was like literally talking shit in the media about the Canadians as he's on the Canadians. And they trade him in the middle of the next game.
But you know what, ridiculous. Though? The reason he got traded instead of assassinated is because he didn't say it in French.
Yeah, they're like, we think it was bad. We think he was talking shit. We're pretty sure. They refuse to translate the thing, though.
Celine Dion.
Oh shit.
But all right, so back on track. Real quick too, before we do get fully back on track, shout out to our awesome friends at Waggle Golf. Everyone should go to getyourwaggleon.com, throw in promo code SP10, get 10% off your entire order. They have the Miracle Team collaboration, Team USA 1980, rocking it right now. Sick hats, awesome polo, quarter zip. They've even got like the wind jacket that like looks beautiful. It's like pretty close to a replica of the ones that they wore back then. And actually, it's really funny that it is like a replica, and they've got like a little pendant on the side that's just like 3 stripes. It's red, white, and blue. And I looked at it at first and immediately thought that it was a Russian flag.
It's like, whoa.
And I'm like, whoa, holy shit, this might be the greatest Easter egg troll move ever. And then I go and Google it. Turns out the stripes weren't in the right order. So it was not the Russian flag, but goddamn, I was so like,
what?
That would have been so fun. Like just absolutely trolling the Russians with the Russian flag on the Miracle gear. That would have been so cool. But I mean, Waggle, they are crushing all the gear. Everyone check them out. Support.
Waggle's the best.
Bring him down.
We might have a baby sighting.
And the baby is going to appear now.
What do you have to say for yourself?
Logan, how scary is the man that's sitting right next to you?
What a baby.
He's speechless, folks. He's speechless.
He's like, what is happening right now? I think it fits. This is perfect. Let's just do this.
We'll see how long he lasts here. But so what were we talking about with the Wild?
I have no idea. I'm like in trance with it. Logan's just crushing it. This is it. This is all we're talking about.
Vibing. Also, his quad game is a lot stronger than mine.
Attaboy. I mean, the way he gets up on the couch and then uses the weight of his face to like get back down and then like shimmy across the carpet to a different spot on the couch. I also plugged in my headphones earlier and then hid the wire from him, and he immediately noticed that I was hiding the wire, and I mean a crawl sprint across and immediately like grabbed it, just put it in his mouth. It's like, no, you're gonna get me in trouble. You're eating wires.
I don't know what it is though. You've like apparently got the vibes that he's looking for, because he gets stranger danger pretty easily, even with like our relatives, and immediately just throws up the point.
Yeah, we've got like the same.
He's a little distracted. There's a lot of
like
bright lights in front of him
on.
between a large TV, a computer, the switchboard. Yeah,
I'm gonna say this is like just a massive television. It blows my mind. It's insane.
It's a 22-inch plasma, babe. Oh, gotta sell some candles to replace it.
The blooper reel of that episode is incredible.
The first time I ever saw it, I like almost couldn't finish it, and now going back, it's one of the best episodes.
Dwight brings his babysitter.
Oh man,
I'm gonna go. Fine, get out of here. Oh, thoughts on the PK, Logan?
Correct.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It's been useless tonight again. Well said. Well said. This kid just gets it.
Yeah.
You could be their PK coach. Maybe that'll fix it.
No, I think it'd be about the same.
Yeah, that's fine. That'll work.
Oh, buddy. What else were we going to talk about with the Wild? Well, we talked about Thursday. Saturday went a little bit more as you'd hope and kind of expect, because Philly's a dumpster fire. How about Torts just flat out admitting defeat when Mishkov goes for the Michigan?
I like when he just is looking at something, analyzes it, and he's like, all right, yeah, I like that, and throws up the smile and the laugh. A+, baby. Yeah, Torts just admits defeat on the Michigan. He's like, I don't think we should have it in our game, but I've clearly lost this battle. And then just like the fact that Michkov's doing this, he's signing water bottles on his way off the ice after getting kicked out of a game. He's trying the Michigan like every single practice, every other game. And his head coach is John Tortorella. I am obsessed with that. Like, imagine doing that with your coach being John Tortorella. His given F meter.
Vibes are immaculate.
Incredible. He's the best. Just lighting up the score sheet still too. I think he's at a point per game now.
He's still not Macklin Celebrini, but that's not important.
Few are.
One is.
That's a great point. Literally one.
It came up on the Jeff Merrick show on Friday. We need him to score 4 goals. Joe Thornton needs him to score 4 goals.
Yeah.
In fact, what if it's 5? Then what's he going to say?
That's a good point. I think after 4, they're going to be like, you're done for the night. You're good. That's it. Attaboy. How'd that taste? Just got a taste of the mic.
The drool is aggressive.
It's the best. Oh, what else is going on with Minnesota real quick before we transition here?
Man, it's pretty it's weird because people are still finding ways to be upset and complain that the Wild are leading the league. Like it's actually funny at this point.
Yeah, I think technically now they're like 3rd in points or whatever, but they've played like 2 fewer games in Winnipeg. And then Washington, I think, just they've played one less game than Washington. Washington's win percentage is better or whatever, or point percentage, but yeah, no, it's like they're losing every important player. They're continuing to win games, and people like, nope, not falling for it. They can't fool me again. And by the way, Zuccarello, 2 games back, he's chucking cross-eyed sauce. He's got assists in both games. He's been back. He's unbelievable. Like, exactly.
He loves Zuccarello.
Yeah.
Who loves Zuccarello more, him or Capri? That was a dumb question.
Okay,
Kaprizov.
that was silly. But I mean, dude, I don't understand how he's just continuing to do it. Again, another great point from our guy. He's going with that mic. What was that one? The trailing off.
I think he wanted Foligno to fight that guy. He's a little disappointed.
Speaking of Foligno, he is trying to fight literally everybody, every shit. Another fight tonight. 4 fights in his last 8 games after not fighting for the first 23. And I mean, he fought Hathaway yesterday when they played the Flyers, and like Hathaway, yes, he slipped and the punch technically missed, but like,
I mean, he punched him in the shoulder, dude.
He looked like he just like one punched him and then Gronk spiked him off the ice, and then he tried to fight like 5 more times that night. I thought he was going to try to kill Sanheim. He did try to kill Sanheim.
Hathaway was terrified to fight him and took the shoulder shot, and he's like, "Oh, I'm down."
Yeah, he's like, "I'm done." Bambi legs.
Turtle.
Yeah. But he fights Cole. The fight today against Kolasar, that was a marathon tilt. They went for like a minute and a half. He's a lunatic. And I just love that he's decided he's going to fight every time he's on the ice now. And literally, he'll fight early in a game, and he's like, "I'm fighting 5 more times tonight," and then no one wants to fight him, except for Logan. Logan would. I mean, it's light work for him.
Facts.
Yep. Oh, and 2-2. Kirill again, tied for the league now with 22 goals.
All right, the baby's going to disappear now. Anything else you want to touch on for the Wild? There's not a whole lot to touch on with like Gustis and Kaprizov. They're doing what they're doing. Both of them should be leading their trophy races.
Yep.
That's about it.
Yeah. And again, as I was loosely saying, as Logan took over.
Loosely.
Zuccarello back. Literally.
Yeah.
It's all set down there. No issues. Already assists in both games. He also that cross or that like stretch pass to Foligno tonight against Vegas was outrageous. Unfortunately, obviously Foligno didn't capitalize, but like a ridiculous pass.
Obviously.
Well, yeah.
I know you're saying that because it happened, so obviously, but like it comes off as like, yeah, we knew he wasn't going to fucking score.
No chance. But I mean, always good to get another guy back, especially as we were talking with Middleton going out. Ericsson's still out.
What's the
also
replacement for Middleton? Zuccarello.
Yeah, exactly. Just let him just triple shift them. Yeah, like they do with Kaprizov half the time. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else we really needed to talk about with Minnesota.
Well, let's talk then about Canada making some. I don't know. Some of the decisions are definitely controversial. Others maybe aren't as controversial. Some are making them out to be, but weird. Riley Heidt. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Same shit, different day. I
mean, I think realistically, especially when you consider the fact you didn't make the team last year, despite also torching the WHL. I mean, really, including this season too. It's like 2.5 years now of him like just ripping the WHL apart, almost at 2 points per game pace. Didn't make it last year. I think he was going to be a long shot either way to make this team in the first place, but it's always, I mean, obviously here in Minnesota, it's more shocking for everyone else. But I mean, this is how Team Canada rolls. They do their thing where they just try to build like a projectable lineup for like almost like an NHL game. And it's like sometimes there's always these cuts or surprise additions to the team too, where it's like, very, very surprising. And you're like, obviously, you're going to question the decision. At the same time, it's hard to argue when they win it, like, just constantly. But this year, especially, like, with some of the cuts and omissions from this team, you could form another team that might compete for actually, they would absolutely compete.
The starting
yeah,
team.
exactly. Like, it's crazy, but
gold medal, Canada B, silver medal, USA, Canada A did not medal.
Yeah. So I wanted to throw a couple of the like really surprising snubs from this team.
Are we strictly going off of the ones that got invited to camp that didn't make the team, or are we also factoring in the ones that just didn't even get invited?
Both. So like guys that, yes, they got invited, but also like, I mean, like how do you want to like categorize Seneke, where like initially didn't get the invite?
Sure.
Was it an initial cut? Then he gets the invite and still doesn't make the team.
I still think the most shocking one, and it was one that didn't even make the invite to camp, is Yakimchuk. Like, given how Canada treats these things, given where the games are going to be played, given how good he looked in the preseason for Ottawa, and he's a big boy.
Yeah, and I mean, he's already...
Man, and it's even more shocking based on the cuts.
Yes.
Because everyone kind of assumed it was between him and one more player who got clipped, and it was like, well, they can only take one of them. They didn't take either of them.
Yeah, Zane Parekh also...
Shocking that Parekh is not there.
Didn't even get an invite also. Like, that's another thing, too. Oh, that's true. Yeah, sorry.
So everyone's like, oh, okay, so Parech's on the team. Now that Parekh got cut, it's like, wait, what?
Right. And it is like a different decor that they're bringing, because again, like we saw this when they cut Lambos a couple years ago after making 2 straight World Juniors or whatever, or at least maybe they did make 2, but usually like they are trying to bring a big rugged decor, and then obviously they're always going to have at least 1 or 2 guys that can just rip it up on the power play as quarterback. This year's a little bit different, where they don't necessarily have a ton of massive players. They've got a couple of big boys like Sam Dickinson, first round pick of the Sharks this past year. But I mean, like they're bringing both like Tanner Molendyke, Bo Akey, and a guy that for me is he definitely is solidified as a challenger for the first overall pick, but Matthew Schaefer. Talked about him before. What he's doing right now in the OHL is absolutely insane, especially when you factor in, this is what we talked about last time too, like the fact that he missed like the start of the season with mono, which in theory everyone's like that's going to have some long-term ramifications for him. Nope, it took him like 12 games to surpass his point total from last year where he was fully healthy. The points he's putting up, and again, like he is a dynamic 2-way defenseman. The skating, but like the offense has just taken a whole other step this year. He had an absolutely outrageous assist, like 2, maybe it was last week. Honestly, just doing it regularly now, like it's just times flat circle this kid. But I mean, he is picking the puck up in his own zone, and I mean dicing through the neutral zone into the offensive zone and just serving up easy goals just on a platter for all of his teammates. He's been ridiculous, but
well, hang on though. Off that, I know that he's like being talked about to be number 1 overall. I don't remember if it was OHL or CHL specifically, and apologies if one of these guys is not in the OHL, and then it's obviously CHL, but your boy Cam Robinson threw up a graphic of the 3 top scorers. Was it for the CHL or OHL?
Yes. CHL,
and it's all guys that are draft eligible this year or next year. Insane. 2 of them guys that we've talked about a lot, and guys that you've pretty firmly got in that top 5 group for this year's draft. And then Kevin McKenna, who I don't know, I guess he's okay at hockey.
Yeah, I mean, right now, out and out easy favorite for first overall in 2026. He plays with Ryder Ritchie.
So like far out, like 2026 doesn't sound with all the drafts that we've covered, like since we started this show, like 2026 still feels like it's 4 years away. Right. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But like you said, Robinson posted that, and the guy that's the out and out leader in the CHL scoring race, Michael Misa, another guy that's gonna be challenging for first overall. He is another huge omission from this team.
You know what though? If you ask Colby Cohen, it sounds like he's probably going to be playing for the Gophers.
This whole
He
thing.
got so mad. He was like offended that someone said that he's like
Cam.
he's potentially going to be you. Yeah, Cam. Colby Cohen went nuts. He's like, actually, it sounds like Minnesota is the front runner. It's like, wait, what?
When he started that tweet off first, like his initial reaction to it was like, this is totally erroneous, irresponsible. I'm like, Jesus, like calm down, dude. Like, relax. This is not a big deal.
They should raid your house, take your children into protective custody. Like, yeah.
But again, Michael Mee is a huge omission from this team. The out and out point leader in the CHL. He's putting up a goal per game, or no, over a goal per game, and he's also like just under an assist per game right now. For Saginaw.
Pretty selfish player, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. Totally super selfish. Just another dynamic two-way centerman. Again, like, yeah, the point totals are jumping off the page this year. And this is the first year Saginaw's given him the reins as their go-to, their number one center. In the past years, this is one of those kids that was graded exceptional status, comes into the OHL as a 15-year-old, puts up over a point per game in the COVID shortened season. Since then, been a point per game player, but also point per game while being like very much looked at for like secondary scoring. He's playing a wing. He was playing on the wing a lot on that Mem Cup team. And this year they give him the reins to go number one center, and he's just unlocked this next level of offensive ability. I mean, the generation of like scoring chances he's producing like single-handedly is incredible. At Smart Scott, we have a guy who's been doing some like just tracking data for him. And it's like, it is a joke how much offense he single-handedly creates by himself. He's a dynamic skater. Again, like a lot of this comes off the rush. And he's just so smart. He's able to just enter the zone, draw guys in, dish the puck off, go to the net. I mean, he's just like everything. Every time he touches the puck, you're thinking that it's going to end up in the back of the net. But he's a big omission from this team. But both Gavin McKenna and Porter Martone make this team. So Gavin McKenna, again, 2026. Porter Martone's 2025. He's a big winger. He's an absolute sniper. But he's also displayed some real nice playmaking. Great name. He's very fun to watch, and like with the goals that he scores, it's like highlight reel only. Like, it is unbelievable. He goes Sports Center top 10 mode almost every time he touches the puck.
Okay, I want you to go quick on this. Don't put a lot of thought into it. Top 5 for this year's draft as it sits currently. Who are you going?
Yeah, no, I think I've changed my answer on this one. I think I might actually go Matthew Schaefer first.
Okay.
I might go Schaefer, Hagens, Misa, Martone. McQueen's dropped for me.
Oh, he has dropped. Okay, I was going to say, is it McQueen?
No.
Okay.
Smart's got, I missed the meeting. I had to take care of more stuff at home, so I missed this meeting. But we went Ryabkin 5th. Not for me. It's not.
So who? Give me a couple of the names you're thinking of at least right now, instead of just dead air. Like who are you considering?
I really, really like Jackson Smith. Might be a bit rich at 5, but a big kid that moves that well, that like his floor is a solid number 3 with really good projectable defense. He's ultra physical. I really like him a lot. Lyndon Lakovich, Moose Shaw is 6'4", 6'5", like power forward winger, dynamic playmaking, shots taken, a ridiculous step forward. I might even put Victor Eklund in Sweden. He might be like flirting with number 5 for me. Again, maybe it's a tad rich, but like what he brings to the table is just super, super projectable. He's kind of like both he and his brother William Eklund, who shout out William Eklund, having a great year in San Jose, by the way, finally like really ripping it up. They both like in their draft years looked like guys that were just like, yes, they might be pretty small, but they will hit every single thing that moves. But Victor Eklund, this like 2025 eligible Victor Eklund, he has even more of it, and he is crushing guys. And he's playing first line for Hugh Garden and the Allsvenskan, almost at a point per game there. Just a couple of other guys that I'm considering.
Would you say that it's a pretty steep drop off after 4 though? Like those first 4 guys are like pretty firmly planted in your top group?
I wouldn't say it's a massive drop off. Okay. I don't think.
It's more dealer's choice kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, again, it's not like a crazy drop off, but
okay. So the other question then that I have off of the list you just gave me, if he was part of this group, where's McKenna go?
No, he's right in the mix for first. Absolutely. Like what this kid can do. Like, I mean, this is also a kid at 15 or 16, went to the U18s this past year and was like the second best player behind Matthew Schaefer, who was also an underager at that U18 tournament. Like, he may have been Canada's second best player there. He might be like, he has a legit chance to finish the World Juniors as top scorer. Like, he is legitimately unbelievable. Like, he makes people look stupid every time he touches the puck in Medicine Hat.
So this might help for some of the listeners. Like, stack him with Celebrini and Bedard in their draft years. Like,
right there.
Like, but like, so just like all three of them are kind of the same, or do you have any kind of tiering across them?
No, when you look at like just their raw upside,
okay,
they're all right there. Like,
all freaks.
Immediately enter the NHL. And
so Celebrini, like, McKenna, Bedard is the ranking order.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's
Celebrini, McKenna, Bedard.
Too many dashes. It's funny too because like when you look at what they bring to the table as far as like what they're going to do in the NHL like long term, it's so different, but all just unbelievable. Like, McKenna gives you, again, like, that offense is just ridiculous. Like, the skill and his ability to just take guys like 3-on-1 no problem is insane. Bedard's got that absurd shot. Celebrini's just like a perfect hockey player, like no weaknesses. And like, we're seeing the offense pop right now. But again, this is another guy who's just such a good two-way centerman. And he's taken absolutely no time to rip it up in San Jose on a bad San Jose team. And I mean, he is like their best player.
Bad San Jose, but at least he's not in Chicago.
Yeah. And also, again, just because we're mentioning Celebrini and we mentioned Eklund, like, shout out Will Smith, who's really turned it on of late, like after a very, very slow start.
You know,
like,
he's been pretty respectable really since smacking up Chris Rock.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's absolutely. Yeah, no, everyone was a big fan of that.
He's been all right.
But yeah, no, Will Smith, he's putting up points now. He's obviously, I think he's like probably 0.75 points per game maybe now.
Okay, like 3-4 years from now, is he a center or a wing?
I still look at him more as a wing.
Okay.
Even though there's some like solid playmaking in his game, obviously, but I just still think, like, just given his frame, unless he really like bulks up, I just think the game is like the way he moves, how skilled he is, and the good shot that he's got, I feel like just lends itself really well to taking guys wide or like kind of more so perimeter versus like a guy like Celebrini who just lives in the middle of the ice.
Oh, that's why I just center. Oh shit. Okay, that makes sense. All right, the one other cut that we need to talk about, and it'll kind of stem into the remainder of the show for us.
Well, I've got a couple other guys too still.
Oh, okay. No, then do those. We'll finish on the transitional one.
Well, I'll just rattle off real quick my list of guys that I was at least notable or surprised.
Sure.
So like
hit the list and then we'll drill into a couple.
So Michael Misa, Riley Heidt, Beckett Seneke again is like one that still perplexes me.
I think he just got booted because no one knows how to pronounce his last name correctly.
Carter Jakubchuk, Zane Perek, Andrew Crystal, Denver Barkey, and obviously our boy Riley Heidt. Denver Barkey is like really interesting to me because when I honestly like look at that in the lens of the guys that they did bring for like the bottom six or / just like out and out fourth line role, I think they got pretty repetitive and guys that like they're solid in that role, but like Denver Barkey's game, it's almost like when they brought Caden Bank here that year and he was just their guy they could throw on the ice, just like do a job. Denver Barkey's that guy, but he brings like legit offense too. And when I like, so I pair that with the fact that they bring guys like they bring all of Cataford, Ethan Gauthier, Cole Baudouin, Tanner Howe. And the big surprise for me to make the team was Luca Pinelli. That was the biggest surprise to me.
Can I say, though, the fact that there wasn't more smoke around Tanner Howe making the team earlier is like crazy. That's a guy that needed to be on this team.
He's perfect in that role they're going to play in.
I'm biased, but like you're unbiased, so you back me.
Yeah, no, I wasn't surprised at all that he made that. I mean, he's going to fill that role so well. And it's been like just because this is what we talked about with him for the last 2 or 3 years. It was just like everyone was just like, yeah, he puts up points because he plays with Bedard. And then you actually watched Regina play, and he literally didn't play with Connor Bedard.
Right.
And he was just like looked at no matter what. It's like they would always frame it. It's like, yeah, he puts up all these points because he plays with Bedard.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. There was definitely a stretch where I fell in that camp. Like you just assume, right? Like, oh, second best player on the team. Obviously he's playing with Bedard. Like, why wouldn't he be? And it's like, oh.
Yeah, and like the only other, like, if you want to call it like a knock or something that you would just like always have to like reference that was accurate is he was one of the oldest players. I think he was eligible for that draft by like a week or two. So he was one of the older players in the draft, but at the same time, like, again, it was just so funny when people would talk about Tanner Howe. It's like, yeah, he put up like 75 points on a shitty Regina team, but he's playing with Connor Bedard. So like, that's how that goes. Like, no, he literally isn't playing with Bedard. Like, he's on a different line almost every game. They play together like on the power play. That's about it. But I was happy that he made the team again. He's going to fill that role really well. But leaving a guy like Denver Barkey off, who is the perfect fourth line player at a World Junior event for Team Canada, while bringing all of Cataford, Gauthier, Baudouin, Howe, and the big one that was shocking to me was Luca Pinelli. That's a 5'9" centerman who is mostly offense. Having a really good year, great player, but just seems like a guy that, like, again, like somewhat of a straying from the norm that we see from like a Team Canada at the World Juniors. A 5'9" centerman who's like pretty offensive. He's going to be on their fourth line, or he's just going to be an extra for them. I was surprised that like Barkey got left off while bringing all those guys. But I mean, the big one is for me, Seneke. It's crazy. Like he also, when he initially didn't even get, when he was cut or whatever.
Yeah.
His next two games put up 11 points.
But
and they like
really
forced
weird.
their hand.
Right. But it also feels weird to invite him and then let him go. Like if you have a late ad like that, it's almost like, oh yeah, we're adding him because he's probably on the team.
Right.
It's like, what happened? Like, I don't know.
You don't know?
Now I have to comment then. There's a name you didn't say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The guy that will transition.
Are we getting to that now, or do you got one you want to dive into still?
The last two things real quick was like, again, when we talk about actually the first thing I'll mention is bring in for goaltender, and he will maybe play one game or he won't play, but they want him there. The goaltender, they bring Jack Ivankovic over Joshua Ravensbergen. Ravensbergen for me is he's solidified. He might go top 15 this year. He's in Prince George. He's been ridiculous. He was an initial walk-on to the Prince George Cougars last year. Was one of the better goaltenders in WHL. He's put up good numbers again after a slow start. He's a 6'5"
walk-on for junior sounds weird.
Yeah, I know, isn't that weird? But this is a 6'5" freak athlete, real solid goaltender who was like pretty raw at the beginning of his tenure, and that's like why he was necessarily a walk-on or whatever. It is so weird to say that, but has just like, I don't know if it's just raw coaching, but he's picked up so many like just better habits and not relying on his size and athletic ability, but like just the way he's developed as far as like reading plays and everything like that, like just killing plays. I was surprised that they brought Ivankovic over a guy like Ravensbergen. And because I mean, another like Ivankovic, great goaltender for me, is probably going to be a guy that goes like 4th, 5th round. So that was interesting to me. And this will transition into where we go next with this, but the youth movement that they bring with Martone, McKenna, and Schaefer, first of all, leaving off Misa, but bringing those three, it's crazy. But bringing that many either this year draft eligible or next year's draft eligible guys, that's a stray from the norm for them. They usually like bringing like 19-year-olds. But doing that and then leaving off guys that have made this team before, like Matthew Wood, University of Minnesota.
Been on the team.
That was interesting to me. Yep. So a guy that's made the team 2 times before, he gets left off, and they bring in 3 kids that are like 17 and 16. So that was very interesting to me. So we can transition into Minnesota. But Matthew Wood, another big time notable omission for sure.
Okay, so he wasn't left off because you weren't including him. He was left off because you just didn't want to say his name until we were ready to transition. Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, ouch. And yeah, ouch for the Gophers too in Friday night, which like, I don't know, you said it. I don't know if you were like saying this to make people sitting around us feel better, but like some pretty good fucking hockey games.
Yes, that was, so we were in the house for both games, Minnesota versus Michigan State, number 1 and number 3 going toe to toe. 2 phenomenal hockey games. on Friday.
Different games too.
Very different games. Friday night, technically a 3-3 tie. Michigan State pulls it out in the shootout because Minnesota's record in the shootout is unbelievable.
Do you remember how many straight?
23.
23.
I was like, how is that even humanly possible? It's insane to me.
And then you got fucking Jupe from Gopher Puck Live, like basically begging people. What the heck just happened here?
Did we die?
Oh, we didn't. I'm just making sure. I'll go back and edit that. Jupiter from Gopher Puck Live egging everyone on to ask Bob about it in the post game availability. Like, who's gonna ask him? Who's gonna ask him? Who's gonna ask him? Like, I'm sure as fuck not.
That was so funny. We were walking down the stairs from the press box to the media room to ask question, and the whole way he is like, "So you're gonna ask me what? Are you gonna like man up? You're gonna ask? Or you're gonna like be a little?"
Jupe and like he won't hide from it. Like he does not want to ask questions. Like he
sets the camera up.
He sets the camera up and he
back.
Gets the hell out of the way. There was one night a couple weekends ago where he was the only one there for Friday that like was available for it, and so like he had to ask all the questions. But they're like, "So do you want us to bring any players?" He's like, "Don't do that to them." Don't put them through that.
My favorite part of him egging everyone on as we're walking downstairs was there's like a 10-second period where no one says anything. And he just goes, it's 23. Like 23 in a row. Shut the fuck up, dude. It was so funny.
It was good.
And then as soon as Motzko walks out, he hits like end on the video and he goes, "You cowards." Like, you cowards.
You're right.
You're the one that had the stat ready to go, dude.
You know how to talk.
Yeah, exactly. But
no, and his cop out was like, just tell him Vigo wants to know.
Yeah. But we'll go back and just talk about that game in general more. But again, 3-3 tie, shootout loss. Saturday night, very different hockey game. Minnesota's all over them, honestly. Like, they were giving up like the odd chance here and there. And Isaac Howard is one that opened the scoring, which, he was so good.
He did pretty okay things that game for them, for sure.
Minnesota takes a 3-1 lead in the third period.
But see,
they proceed to give up 3 straight in a matter of 5.5-6 minutes or so.
Was it even that many?
The goals.
Felt like it happened in 10 seconds. I know that's not the case, but like
the 3-3 and 4-3 goal, they think that was like a minute apart. And then eventually they tack on an empty netter, so a 5-3 loss. But for how depleted Minnesota was both games, and how many guys are just missing, and like the way they had to orient the lines, the guys that they were just rotating, they were right there. And Motzko said it after both games, just ran out of gas, it felt like. And even that game on Friday, though, that was there. And they were down 3-1, they come back.
Yeah, kind of the reverse. But like, it sucks. Like, screw you, Hockey Canada. Like, having Wood on Friday would have made so much of a difference. Not only like, hey, maybe they win that first game, but also just having fresher legs, because they ended up literally rolling 3 lines throughout. And like, I know some people want to make the comments, suck it, Veach, that like, oh, you don't play the 4th line at all. Like, it's really not a big deal for a good team to roll 3 lines. Like, not the way Motzko's been playing them.
Right. So again, 2 phenomenal hockey games, though, straight up. Like, that was just nonstop entertainment. But players of that tournament, first of all, Trey Augustine, one of the best goaltending prospects on the planet right now. He's got a shout to be number 1, honestly. He was insane.
I've never seen you more obsessed with the player than
he was.
Augustine in those
the
games.
Saves that kid was making.
You didn't even care about the saves. You cared about his antics post game.
Well, yeah. So again, Friday, easy player of the game for sure. Yeah, I think he made 40 saves. It was close to 4. It was either 37, 38 or 40.
It was 43 shots.
Right. Okay.
3 goals. And honestly, the first goal like was a sloppy one that he probably like is pissed off about and wants back. After that, it couldn't have
30
been,
seconds of the game.
immediately in the game. And after that, it was like, holy shit, what do we do?
That is the part to me that's even more impressive. And I wish I could remember which goaltender we were talking about, where it's like they give up an early one and their response is just to go sicko mode the rest of the game. And some of these saves that he was making were like full extent, like has no chance. Like, it's easy. This is going in the back of the net. And he's just somehow there, not only just making the save, but either like maybe giving up a rebound and then like swallowing the next one, or just giving up no rebounds. Like, he was unbelievable. But to give up a goal that early, Barnes rocking in Minnesota, the #1 team in the country, and you do not shy away. You do not struggle the rest of the game. You are easily the best player on the ice. Win the shootout and then just give it to the Minnesota student section. What a fucking weekend.
Dude, they were giving it to him too, though.
Oh, like, they were all over him, and he loved it.
Like, unbiased. Fans were on it.
The fans were, there was a great student section both nights. Saturday, I was wondering, like, at 5 p.m., Minnesota's already played. I was curious if it was
and it's like in the middle of finals and stuff.
It was belligerent.
They were way more intense on Saturday, to be honest.
I was like surprised.
Which, granted, being up 3-1 will definitely get the boys juiced up, but like, still. And Saturday, I don't know, because you could certainly say that the Gophers were in control for the first 2 periods, but really the first period to me felt like a big feeling out party for both teams. Like, they both like saw the fireworks from the previous night, and they're like, let's maybe not be like that unhinged all game and like tiptoe into this. And like, neither one really did anything too outrageous and just kind of felt out the first period. Both teams played well, but like, there weren't a lot of big chances. There were some, but like, most of it was like kind of just a flow back and forth with no real grade A's largely.
Yeah. We didn't mention the fireworks from Friday night, because both teams take major penalties, game misconducts.
Dude, insane.
And like, I mean, the hits that were being thrown, there was hatred in that hockey game from the word go. Like, it was,
which is like,
they
funny,
were
though,
killing each other.
It didn't feel that way to me, because I went to the Michigan series the weekend before, and that was pure like psychopaths going after each other. Like, it, and oh my God, we're like players on both sides ready to like shank each other in that one. This one still super intense, and you could tell, but like after the Michigan one, it was just like, whatever, it's just another hockey game.
Right.
But,
fair enough. But yeah, like you said though, Saturday it did, like, the first period felt like a feeling out process where it's just like, all right, let's see if they're gonna keep, I think both teams were like, let's see if they try to carry that fucking violence and physicality over. And like, there were some big hits. Charlie Stramel, we'll talk about Stramel. We'll do a full-on Stramel deep dive here, but Stramel killed the guy. Well, he is a maniac. What he wants to be. But this year he's in control, which is great. But like, in years past, he's lost his marbles. But like, he threw a big boy hit, almost got tossed, ended up being clean, which we didn't know that was a thing.
Which we knew from the beginning, though, that was a clean hit. It was kind of weird that they blew the whistle to begin with, but you're going to go more in depth. Charlie Stramel, it was definitely the tale of two games, because Friday night, you could see the frustration, like gripping the stick tight, chasing it, like wasn't really in the flow of the game. Whereas Saturday, like, he was way more in his element, and he was teeing people up, like he was killing people and like doing it very efficiently and cleanly. And for him to get the game winner, like you said, you were pulling for the Gophers just because like you were there with me, but wanted to see Stramel do something like that. And oh boy, you could see it in his celebration. Like that was like the biggest goal of his career, is how he made it seem.
Between that one and his goal last weekend against Wisconsin, the game winner there, and
that one probably felt better.
He gave it to that crowd too. That was phenomenal. Oh, unlucky 3-2 Knights. But yeah, we can just jump right into Stramel, or do you have anything else you want to touch on real quick?
Largely no. I think the biggest thing for me, like you said, like two really good teams are both going to be in the thick of it come Frozen Four time. The fact that the Gophers played this tight with them, though, with the amount of injuries they have, like getting a Cal Thomas back, getting August Falloon, getting Eric Paulson, like they've got, getting Nevers back. Like they've just got so many guys injured that the fact that you can actually hang with the team that's been in the top 5 all year, like Michigan State, and put up 3 each night against a goalie like Trey Augustine, who was on his fucking game. Like
Right.
he didn't have bad games. He was
Right.
on his game, and you do that. Like it feels weird to come out and, get a tie/loss and a loss, but like, I feel real fucking good about this team, man.
Yeah, that's what I actually
howdy.
I did want to mention that too.
Quick assessment just of the Gophers. Like what was your impression of them coming in, and how has that changed since watching these games?
So I think we knew that they were deep because, like you said, for the most part, they are rolling 4 every game, 4 lines, and like even all the D men get like big time minutes. I mean, Middlestat, Motzko's boy, he plays a ton. But like every player, if you're in that lineup, you're getting at least 8 minutes, no matter what position you're in, no matter what line you're on, no matter what your role is, whether or not you're on special teams. Like you're playing significant ice time regardless. They are so fucking deep. And that was the big thing for me. Like you said, like with how depleted that lineup was, how many guys are missing, and like some of the elevated roles that they were throwing some guys without that much experience, someone like a Beckett Hendrickson, like the roles that they given, and you play Michigan State, who's got a shout to be number 1, 2, 3 in the country. I mean, they are 3 right now, but like anyone that was questioning Minnesota being at number 1, which I don't think there was many, but if anyone like looked at that,
there was, which is weird because usually
it's like Minnesota.
People just want to be mad about the Gophers being there. I didn't really hear much hate, even from like the Nodak folks of the world. Like people were like, "Yeah, get it."
Yeah, and I mean they showed why. Again, like missing some really important players, asking guys to really step up. Like they probably come away from both games thinking like, "Fuck, we probably should have won that one," especially Saturday.
And you think about it too, man, because like we talked about this, but we haven't mentioned it on here yet. Even though they got another body back and it's a great player, like it was not Matthew Wood's best outing on Saturday. Jimmy Snuggerud, like he was ripping shots from his office, but like there was some hesitation on like Friday at least, and then Saturday, like the passes were not dialed.
Right, yeah, he looked like he just looked like somebody who's been playing a ton of hockey.
If their best guys get back to their game, like that's another element that just wasn't even there this weekend, and they were still hanging right there with the Michigan State. So like all around, very happy about it. But
there's one other guy I wanted to mention. I meant to say, like when I mentioned players of the weekend, Brody Zemer, gamer, 3 goals, 2 on Friday, 1 on Saturday.
Yeah, 2 and 1.
And that snipe on Saturday, was so it was funny. It's like it was a carbon copy of his second goal on Friday.
I don't even remember what the order was.
I think it was the second goal on Friday where he
just like the only one that's seared in my brain is the Saturday one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so like the one on Friday on the power play, like picks the puck up at the circle, takes a couple steps in, little baby toe drag, and like I don't know if someone like maybe got a piece of a stick or something, but it ended up going 5-hole.
Yeah. And
by the way, I forgot to mention too, like he released and got smoked. Like he let that off after by the way, he missed tie. He had to go down the tunnel. Like he had a really awkward fall, went right, got hammered into the stanchion. And he comes back, puts up 2 tucks. But puts that one 5-hole after getting, in the middle of getting absolutely plastered to the ice. That goal on Saturday, though, same kind of thing, more so off the rush, I'd say, I think, if I remember correctly, but still from the circle, takes a couple of steps in, toe drag, but this one went top corn. And that puck, like, it hit the back of the net, and I mean, it flew to center ice. Like, that was an absolute cannon. What a shot, but he looked phenomenal both games, obviously stepped up big time with 3 goals. He looks like a fucking phenomenal prospect for Buffalo.
Yep. Don't tell Joey that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't tell Joey. But like, I had to mention him because what a gamer that kid is. He's so good.
But
he scores big goals
every single weekend. He has added a little element to his bag, and like I'm so excited about this kid. He's so fun.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk then about the two wild prospects involved in the series. Maybe we start with Jimmy Clark, who the simplest way for me to put it, and I know you can put it into a lot more words, but he's just a guy that doesn't make mistakes. Like he's never doing anything too flashy. There's a couple of times actually this weekend where like he'd have the puck on a string and like do something cool, but like largely he just doesn't make mistakes. He does what he needs to do. It's clean. He like if you're a casual fan or if you just like don't have any interest in Jimmy, you're probably not really going to notice him a ton. But if you're paying attention, giving him the ISO cam watch, like he just doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah, and that's what like so like anytime I get to see these kids in person, it's so much fun. Like I love going, like especially like a weekend like this where we see like a guy like Stramel, especially given the history, the last couple of years, the context of everything coming in, it was really good to see him in person. But I mean, I've talked nonstop about Jimmy Clark since they took him in the 7th round. Again, just love the pick. And like this weekend, especially when you talk about Minnesota and how depleted that lineup was. I mean, he starts off this year over a point per game, scoring some big time goals, big time factor on the forecheck, winning pucks. He's their first PK unit guy. Like he is doing a little bit of everything. Yeah, exactly. But like producing points when he's playing with Kurth and Wood. They've obviously broken that lineup just given how depleted the lineup is, so it looks a little bit different. But I mean, such a reliable player to throw over the boards in any situation. If you just like you're losing momentum and you just need to make a couple small plays just to get it back and like just stick on puck, make a couple passes, get some zone entries, like just establish possession. He's a guy that Moscow will throw over the boards pretty much anytime that's going on. And I mean, like, especially given the fact that that line's been broken up here lately, like the points have obviously not been as frequent, and he didn't get any this weekend. But I mean,
really his game, like that's not what you're.
It was a bonus. This like the start of the year was an added bonus. That line was just ridiculous, especially as Matthew Wood was adjusting to Minnesota,
especially as the 4th line.
Yeah. Technically, yeah, they pencil in as the 4th line.
Bob Motzko's great bit.
But he is just like he gives you a little bit of everything. Again, the point at the beginning of the season was an added bonus, but. Great face-off guy. He's on their PK. He moves really well. Like he's also just so smart at reading like stick position when he has the puck. When you see him like make a silky play, like a skill play, a lot of it is him just reading like exactly how the defensemen line up with like where their feet are, where their stick is, and he just puts it in between the triangle, and he'll just hold on to the puck below the net. And he's a small frame, but like he doesn't get pushed off the puck often whatsoever, but like him on the forecheck, the routes he takes and the way where he puts his stick, he like just forces turnovers and creates possession, creates offensive scoring chances, just in his forechecking ability. And he's so fun to watch hang on to the puck too, where he's like, you think that he's just like dead to rights. He's got two guys all over him, and he just makes one play where he'll put it behind his back off the boards, do a spin move, go retrieve it, and then feed it to the blue line for a one-timer. Like he's such a fun player to watch. Again, anytime you draft a kid in the 7th round, his profile where he's not like, dynamic offensive guy that's going to rip it up point per game player, like it's always going to be a long shot to become a full-time NHL guy. But like, God, do you root for a player like that? And he's so valuable, especially in college hockey for Minnesota. And he's just very fun to watch. So I love Jimmy Clark. Again, no points this weekend, but I mean, he probably longed over 20 minutes in both games. Like, I mean, at one point they were double shifting him on Saturday, and like, just like you got fucked over on the faceoffs. But I meant to say this on Friday. I was getting angry watching the live stats. I was like, he was like 3 for 11 at one point, and I was like, I watched him win 5 faceoffs against Stramel. I watched that happen. Like, I know he did. Like, it was like 3 in a row on the PK.
No, Stepan went in and changed those.
Yeah, by the way, Derek Stepan was there, and we were like, holy shit,
he is not 5'10".
Yeah, hockey DP has him listed as 5'10", 5'11". He's like as tall as Stramel. He's 6'3". I swear to God. But whatever.
Yeah. All right. Moving on though to Charlie Stramel. Already mentioned like tale of 2 very different games for him, but end of the day, if you're a Wild fan and you watched this weekend and you still want to be mad about Charlie Stramel being a prospect of the Minnesota Wild, I don't value your opinion.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. So it was interesting. Literally, I had a nagging suspicion that Friday he was very pedestrian, very late plays, just looked pissed off, really struggled. Well, I should say he wasn't bad. He was just like at no point where you're like, oh, look at him go. Like he didn't make a ton of noticeable plays. He's still physical. He did draw a penalty where I think it was the game tying goal on Friday where he did, which was not. I mean, it was a penalty, but he could have got 2 for embellishment, but it's fine. So I mean, he did factor it that way, I guess. But like just not many plays where you're like, yep, there's like the Charlie Stramel that's been going off this year as a number 1 center on a top 5 team in the country. But it was funny. I had a nagging suspicion Friday was going to go that way. Literally off the opening faceoff, he got fucked over by the guy dropping the puck, and he literally didn't move his feet for like 3 seconds and was just yelling at the ref. And I was like, oh no, he might get thrown out tonight. I was like, So the rest of the game, he was just chasing. He was late. And like didn't really get a ton of puck touches in general, took a penalty early. And again, not like he was a problem, but it was just like not exactly what we were maybe like hoping for or expecting, especially just given the context how this year's going. Saturday was different off the jump. Like he was all over the ice. He may have finished that game with 12 hits. Like he was throwing his body around on the floor. There were a couple of times where I was getting nervous.
He was moving his feet.
That was the big thing. Friday, he was late because like so often he was just watching the play, like gliding a lot. Saturday, those legs were going and he was winning all the races to those pucks. He was like defensively, again, he's like, it's interesting on the PK, they throw him out there basically to win the face-off, defend if they doesn't win the face-off, and then the second they get it clear, they'll like take him off. But like he's in there to like win that face-off, bang bodies if he needs to on that first PK unit, and then they throw him back on again, like I don't know, like minute 2. But he was a factor in all 3 zones, and I think a big part of it was him just like when his own D-men had it behind their net, he was coming back as a centerman, moving his feet, coming to the puck, and like carrying it up the ice. It's interesting too. Like he's not necessarily a burner, but like, or he's not his first couple steps. He's obviously not like lightning quick, but when he gets moving, first of all, you cannot take the puck from him. He's very good at just like using his frame in motion, but like he gets going when he really wants to. And there were a couple times though that someone on Minnesota would have the puck like facing the wall and he was high stepping at center ice, and I was like, oh no, don't do it. But then he would just adjust his route on the way and he would hammer the guy from the side, shoulder on shoulder, win the puck and create possession that way. I mean, he may have had like 4 or 5 takeaways, forced turnovers. He was a factor on the back check too. There were a couple 2-on-1s that he broke up, and he also, there was just like there was a big turnover at center ice, and I forget who on Minnesota. It was like a half 2-on-0, but he caught up and like got like full extension on the back check, got his stick on the puck and like knocked it away. No shot on net. And I mean, again, he threw that big boy hit. Was it? I think it was Gruba.
Oh, the one that they called.
Yeah. He absolute, and the noise that this hit made in the press box, I audibly was like, holy shit. And I was like, whoops, not supposed to do that up here. But to say, oh my God. But he initially gets a penalty and they review it for a major. And it does look bad. Like it looked like it was probably a bad hit. And I wrote down when I was taking notes, I was like, really dumb, bad penalty in the second period here. And they reviewed it, and they're like, oh, no, that was shoulder on shoulder. It was like, you could call it late if you want. It was like one of those, not late, but like unnecessary, I guess. Like you could have just not thrown that hit. But like when you watch the slow-mo of him deciding he's going to do it, he's so far away. And he is like, I know his eyes lit up when he was like, oh, his head's down. He's watching his pass. and he crushed him. And Gruba is not
a
small man. He's 6'2", 210. Again, the noise that hit made was incredible. But they review it for a major, and then they look at it and they're like, no, it's not a penalty, which we had no idea. So we got the penalty wiped, which the crowd was
not thrilled.
Oh man, they were mad at Stramel all weekend too, because he kind of made contact with the who was in net on Friday. No, it wasn't Surya.
Friday was Nathan Airy.
Right. Knocked him over, whatever, no penalty, and the fans were giving it to Stramel for the rest of the weekend. But all that capped off where like he's getting a bunch of chances and he gets the eventual game winner from in tight. Nice pass. I don't think it was Isaac Howard that set him up, but actually no, I think it was. Now that I think about it, it was Isaac Howard, who was ridiculous on Saturday. But he the weekend gets capped off with him, like, again, having that bounce back game where it's just a dominant force on Saturday. But it gets capped off with him getting the eventual game winner after Michigan State erases a 3-1 deficit in like a matter of 5 minutes. But he looked phenomenal on Saturday again, just doing all the little things. Added bonus, he gets the game winner. But it was really good to see him in person. And the difference between Friday and Saturday was vast, but he was phenomenal on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I actually like pulled up because I wrote down what he finished with on the weekend. Yeah, 1 goal, 8 shots on net. He was a +1, blocked 2 shots. He was 17 for 40 at the dot. So didn't win a ton, but and he took 1 penalty. And almost took a big time penalty. Another big penalty, but yeah, no, he was awesome. So really good to see him. And again, 2 incredible hockey games. And I have a feeling we'll be seeing them going toe to toe again at some point here.
For sure. Well, I think that pretty much rounds it out for us here for this week. We will not be doing a live stream next week either with Christmas, but heavy World Junior coverage, a lot more prospect heavy talk. Coming after that, we'll be back on the normal Monday night streaming schedule. It's been a weird couple of weeks here, but appreciate you all tuning in regardless. Fellowship of the Rink, for those of you that listen to both shows, definitely tune in the next couple. This week, Wednesday, we're dropping an interview with prized prospect Zeev Buium. And on video the following week, we'll be dropping a sit down with the World Junior Camp invitees. We sat down with all 3 of Oliver Moore, Brody Zemer, and Matthew Wood. And that'll drop in audio the following week. No Fellowship of the Rink episode Christmas week. But thank you all. God bless. Z survived the weekend somehow. Going to go back and continue living the Boston rat life, but
oh, that was the last thing I wanted to mention too. I don't think I'll ever adjust to like how much nicer people are in Minnesota versus Boston.
Yeah.
Like to the point where even I'm like, all right, what's your angle with how nice people are? It's like really throwing me off. Like I stepped on someone's foot last night and they were like, oh, my bad, dude. I'm so sorry. Was I in the way? I was like, no, I just stepped on you because I'm a dumbass. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Here's
I was
donut.
like, wait, is this you? Are you asking me to fight? And they're like, no. So, I'm okay, sorry. I was like,
I think your ass, bro.
I was like, it feels weird for me to say it's okay that I stepped. It's all right that I stepped on your foot, motherfucker. That's right. Take it. Like it was weird. Anyways, it's lovely out here, and everyone that came up and said hi on Thursday.
Yeah,
was
a
awesome.
lot of people were coming up and offering to buy you drinks.
That was great.
Like,
Always love it.
Fuck that guy with you.
But yeah, that's it. We can end it. Actually, yeah, I keep forgetting that we're not live. So
end it.